Zambia, like any other country in the global village, in the global south, of course, is grappling with disabilities for both adults and children. And so government, cooperating partners and NGOs alike, have ensured they develop and implement efforts that ensure and afford these children a decent life, just like any other person, a life that will enable them to grow into responsible, self-sustained adults, not only adults but citizens of Zambia. Now, with this little background, really, this program will help you, our dear listener out there, to understand how serious the problem is in Zambia and the challenges being faced by those having different able children, and what the country is doing to ensure that these children lead a decent life. Today's topic, we are looking at disability among children, and we are saying what are the challenges and opportunities for Zambia to make sure that these children have an equal opportunity, as well as the able-bodied people, to go in school, to do anything. You're an accountant, disabled, you should have equal opportunities. You're a journalist and stuff like that. You should have those equal opportunities. So thank you so much for joining us. What is the prevalence of disabilities among the children in our beautiful country of Zambia?
Thank you very much, Mr. Luwinda. To begin with our jump protocol, I'll first answer your questions after I explain what PMRC is. I think a lot of people might be wondering, what is PMRC? So, Policy Monitoring and Research Center is a public policy think tank that's based in Lusaka. We are set up in 2012 to help government implementers of different projects, which can be donors, other NGOs, to have evidence-based research. Coming today from at Zambezi FM, we are in the field doing some data collection on disabilities and COVID-19, which is part of our work to provide evidence-based to government and implementing partners. So, going back to our topic on disability and children, it's one of our stated aims and one of our pillars where we worked under, which is social protection and livelihoods. So, social protection and livelihoods for who? In this sense, we're talking for children with disabilities. Children as one part, but also children with disabilities. If we look at Zambia generally, like 10% of the whole population of Zambia, which are adults and children, are disabled, which is about 1.3 million of the total Zambian population. And then coming to children, we're looking at the children between the age of 2 years old to 17 years old, and which is 4.4% of the children population in Zambia between that age are living with various forms of disabilities. If we look at it sex-wise, you'd find the male children are more prone to disability as compared to the females. Reasons being, we still need to do research as why there's that discrepancy. And then coming to rural and urban, you'd find more children who are in urban areas are disabled as compared to those who are in rural areas. One of the reasons that we can give why more children in urban areas are disabled is because of the widespread poverty that is found in urban areas and the lifestyles that they lead. Going to provincial level, you'd find Luapula has the highest level of disability, which stands at 7.3%, compared to Southern Province, which has 2.7%. So if we go province-wide, we'll find that Luapula has the highest levels of disability among children.
What are some of the common disabilities that we find in children in Luapula?
So most of the forms of disabilities, you find there's issue of sight and also cerebral palsy.
Is it the fish that people are eating there? It's just a myth out there. People, just speculate. What is it?
It's a myth because fish actually is a good source of nutrients that these children need.
But it is believed that there's some particular fish that is not in any other places apart from Luapula province. And when they eat that, people go blind.
Really, maybe we need to do research on that one. Yes, so really what is causing more disabilities if you look at Luapula? So if you do a comparison of stunting in Zambia and lack of nutrients, you realize that, lack of nutrients lead to some of the diseases, such as anemia and lack of vitamin A. Vitamin A has to give us eyesight. So we should move out from fish to say lack of blindness is due to vitamin A. So in Luapula, there's a lot of deficiency of vitamin A, as well as lack of iron, which causes anemia. So Luapula has the highest rate of anemia and lack of vitamin A deficiencies.
What can we do then to improve the iron?
The iron deficiencies. So we need to encourage them to eat more food that contains iron.
But what are some of the common causes of disabilities among the children?
Yes.
Now, this will eminently cut across.
Yes, exactly.
So,
like one of the causes, we can say accidents, maybe children being involved in accidents, also disease. We have many people now who are around their 40s, the time when we had polio. You'd find most of persons who are on wheelchairs, if you really ask them what caused, most of them will allude that to polio. But then we have one of the most causes of disability among children, which is the lack of nutrients in the first 1,000 days of a child's life. This is from conception to the time the child is turning 2 years old. So that is from the time the mother is pregnant. There's need for a mother to have a balanced diet, which will help with brain development of a child. And also stunting, let's say lack of nutrients when the child is born to up to when they are 2. They need a lot of nutritious food in order for them to be able to experience brain development and movement of the brain and many other parts. So this is what they say exclusive breastfeeding. Like you're supposed to breastfeed the child, because you'd find some children it's hard for them to eat before they reach the age of 5. Like it's really hard at this point below 2 for them to really eat food. They'll really depend on the breastfeeding. Therefore, it's important for a mother at that age, when they are breastfeeding, when they are pregnant, to eat nutritious food, and in order for them to transfer those nutrients to their child.
How long? Is it 2 years, 3 years?
I think 2 years should be maximum.
Recommended
should be 2 years. I think our mothers used to go to 1 year, 3, but it has to be up to 2 years old.
You women of today who say, Kylie, I've got a job, my job is elite, I cannot breastfeed. You know what I'm saying? But it's women of today that will say, no, even 6 months is okay. Hey, makuti and chitesh. Really, from your perspective, how important is this breastfeeding?
Breastfeeding is important because not only does it provide nutrients, it will also help, let's say, I'm speaking like from my experience of being a mother and also being an aunt to many other children. It's important, let's say, when the child is teething, they will need that, because there are all these diseases that are associated with teething, where the child, at least when they are breastfeeding, they are getting other nutrients from their mother, because most of them even have loss of appetite. So at least breast milk comes in to help with nutrition uptake.
Considering the challenges of severity of this problem in the country, what is being done? What are you doing to ensure that these children can basically have a decent house, decent home, decent living? What are you doing about it?
So you realize that after the country has realized that these children face a number of challenges, poverty comes in, where they face challenges of lack of food for them to eat, because of they might have food, but the food is not the right food for them to eat. Because of poverty in many of these houses, you find they just give them what's available, and some of them have got special diets. And also there's community misconception and stigma that these children are facing. In the homes, you find these children are being hidden by their parents for them to go out there. And then just in communities, we have this bad stigma and misconception against persons who are disabled, such that they are not really co-opted into our communities. And then also access to basic services. You find most of these children do not have access to good education or the education that they need. You find maybe they're just taken to ordinary schools. You find it's not all provinces or all districts, especially rural areas, that have special needs schools. So you find somebody just goes to school, to an ordinary school, and then a point reaches over, they cannot go because they're not getting anything out of it. So what then is government doing? We must be aware of the social cash transfer that the government is implementing and has been implementing for a number of years. That program has also now tried to be responsive to persons with disabilities. You'd find one of the criteria for a household to be on social cash transfer, they will need to have a person who's disabled, whether a child or a head of the house. And those families that have children who have disabilities, their funding from government is twice compared to a normal household. Let's say your household is just a household that is being led by an old person, they'll give you 110 per month. Or actually, now we increase the money from 90 to 110. So they'll give you maybe 110 a month. But if in my household, there's somebody who's disabled, the government will give me 220 kwacha. So you'd find some of the money is to be used on that child who has special needs. Another thing that the government is trying to do is our school home feeding programs. These homegrown school feeding programs are programs that are being implemented in a number of schools. They are there to encourage people to go to school, like ordinary children, but they are also beneficial to children who have special needs, because if you look at in all special needs school, these programs are there to cater for situations whereby, let's say a child at home do not eat nutritious food, they just eat anything. But this food that is being served at school has got the nutrients that this child needs. So at least once a day, this child has a meal that is that is nutritious. Another program that is being implemented by partners, these are the cooperating partners, is the first 1,000 most critical days project. In my earlier statement, I had said 1,000 days are very critical to a child's life. That's from conception to about 2 years old. So these cooperating partners are implementing this project in some of the districts where there's more maternal mortality. Part of it is Southern Province, where they're implementing this project to ensure that mothers, from the time they conceive up to the time they give birth, they are given proper nutrients, which will transfer to have good nutrients for a child. And then we also have the spoon feeding program. This is also being done by cooperating partners. And then government has brought in the issue of special needs school. I think we have a number of them even in Southern Province. We have those to ensure that even these children can have access to better school where their needs are being able to be.
Do you make sure you check these schools if they have RAMs? Are they called RAMs? For example, for people that are, for those that have disabilities and they're on the wheelchair, do you make sure they have RAMs to get to those schools? Already, we've been talking of, sorry for bringing this in, but it is imperative of the voting kind of arrangement. Second floor, how does that person get there? But coming down and streaming down to schools, do you have ramps? Very quickly, we do not have much time. Basically, have about 4 minutes to conclude.
Okay. So most of these special needs schools have ramps, and not only have they got ramps, they also have resting rooms that are designed for this kind of people. This special needs school, they are designed for these people. So you find they've got resting rooms that are designed in that way.
Okay. Yes. Final, as we conclude, what are some of the recommendations that can be shared with government program implementers like ourselves and the listener for better programming for these children? Very, very quickly. We do not have much time.
Okay. So quickly, I'll look at increased funding for early childhood education, which is very important. It's from early age that you'll be able to recognize that this child needs special attention. So there's need for more funding towards early childhood education. Like it's now coming up in Zambia, even in government schools. A long time it just used to be for private schools, but now you have been government introducing this thing, so there's need for more increased funding towards early childhood education. Another one is deliberate efforts towards nutrition education for mothers with disability. Let's say like those who are on social cash transfer, who are receiving money on behalf of that child who's disabled. There's need for them to be taught also on nutritional needs of these children. Another one, I think it should just be increasing funding towards education in order for them to realize the education policies that said there's need to increase funding toward assistive devices for children with disabilities for that education to be inclusive. So maybe those are one of the things we can look at. Also increased funding towards child education, nutrition and rehabilitation.